This is an SM Media production. Hi folks, and welcome to the latest episode of the Rangers Assessment right here on SM Media. I'm Scott McKay. It's a pleasure as always to be your host. I've got a really good panel this week, and we are going to be discussing what could prove to be a pivotal weekend in the title race. First of all, it's a pleasure to welcome the special guest on tonight's episode. He's from the Rangers Journal. He's a man I've been trying to get on for a while. He's a man whose work I admire a lot. It's a pleasure to welcome onto the show at long last, Kai Watson.
Pleasure to be on, mate. Yeah, it's like you said, it's been a long time coming, so good to finally get it sorted.
No, it's good, mate. Glad to have you on. And it's a pleasure to welcome back onto the show. I'm not giving Scott as big an intro because he's been on a few times in recent weeks. It's a pleasure to welcome on Scott McKay.
Thanks very much, Scott. Good to be on again, mate.
It's a pleasure, mate. Looking forward to that. It does feel a big weekend. Obviously, we've got a lot to talk about in terms of the Livingston game. We'll recap the transfer window as a whole and look ahead to Tuesday's game against Aberdeen. But Kai, I always talk about with Rangers, it's all about winning the weekend, especially if Celtic play early. If Celtic do drop points, which we've seen in recent years, never ever plain sailing when it comes to if Celtic drop points. It's very rare that Rangers capitalise. But yesterday just felt different. Yesterday just felt like Rangers, and under managers before, they would have halted in the pressure. We've seen it in the past, but yesterday it just felt a big day.
No, full agreement. Like this season, obviously, we was playing mostly on Sundays through the Europa League. There've not been many opportunities Celtic have played before us. So it was obviously huge that result earlier on. And then, like you say, in previous times, we've normally crumbled under that pressure. But there was definitely a different atmosphere before yesterday's game. There was kind of an expectancy to catch up instead of like, oh no, they've dropped points. Like it's always must win, but it then becomes like you need to win it even more. Like every game's obviously like that just now, but yesterday just felt confident for the first time in a while that we were just going to go out and do the business. Then kind of we're on the front foot from the first minute and never really let up. It's quite a nice feeling actually.
Got before the game, obviously there was Celtic drew 1-1. The vibes around Celtic Park at the moment are not good, as you can tell. All you need to do is look at my Twitter and find that out, because you might have seen the trouble I get into. But there is a big difference in terms of the overall feeling. And I think I've thought this for the minute Clement came in. Like, we would see under previous managers, if, for example, always go back to last season, the Aberdeen game. I can't remember who Celtic dropped points to that weekend. Rangers went to Pittodrie and you just didn't have the confidence that they would go and do it. And obviously, Rangers get beat. But just under Clement, there's just felt a bit of a grounded atmosphere that Rangers can capitalise. And if we had said, and we've spoken about this a lot, if we had said before Clement came in that at the start of February, Rangers had the chance to go top of the table and have lost to Celtic twice, you wouldn't have believed it. But just, I think the manager, the way he's went about it, the way the squad just looks in a bit better order despite having a billion injuries, it just feels a bit more like this is a squad that can actually push Celtic. They might not win the league. We might just say that now, but there's a feeling that they can, and that's something we wouldn't have spoken about 2 months ago.
100%, Scott. I think the mentality shift for winning the League Cup's been massive for players' confidence to start with. Clement's come in and he's instilled a mentality that's just it's like a machine that just keeps churning out results every single week. They're relentless. They're absolutely relentless. And I thought it spells through a game yesterday. Rangers played their best football under Clement. Obviously, we're going to get a game later on. But in terms of mentality, I mean, you've seen signs of it earlier on in the season when Danilo scored that last minute winner against Hearts. That felt like quite a big moment. We went to Dumbarton after the winter break. We disposed of them relatively comfortably. We went to Hibs. Even last week when we touched on the St Mirren game, I thought it was a relatively comfortable 1-0 performance. You just feel good about Rangers, especially at back just now. I mean, that's another clean sheet yesterday. And title winning teams are built around a good defence.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, though, the thing with the opponents yesterday was obviously Livingston did not register a shot or even any sort. I think they only maybe had 5 touches in the opposition box. I think a Livingston fan told me that today. But that is it doesn't matter who you're playing. Guy, I thought yesterday as well, before the team was announced, I thought it was really interesting that there was a bit of rotation. Obviously, we saw the likes of Ryan Jack coming in, Borna Barisic was in, Rabbi Matondo, Silva started ahead of Dessers. And we've spoke a lot about the injuries and the real lack of a squad and being able to keep the squad balanced. Yesterday, when the team get announced, you just felt there's time to do that. There's a lot of games coming up. It's a perfect time, perfect opponents, in my opinion, to try other stuff, give other people opportunities, and that's what you want with a squad. And that's what, if you're going to challenge for a league, you need to make that count.
No, 100%, mate. And you obviously seen, as soon as the lineup came out yesterday, it was the usual, like, why do we need Jack and Lundstrom kind of sitting in there? But you look at the bench and what's the alternative? Like, I'm not sure Lawrence is quite ready for the full 90 minutes yet. He obviously got good minutes in the legs yesterday when he comes on. It's that would be a bit more attack and he kind of drives forward a bit more. But it's like, it wasn't a defensive performance at all yesterday. Like, you wouldn't have noticed if you didn't know it was Jack and Lundstrom. You wouldn't have said, oh, there's 2 holding players in there. Like, Jack had a couple of those really, like, punchy passes through the lines, and it just felt like, you say, we need to rotate now. We need to use the squad. Like, this is what we've got now. I know some fans kind of wanted 5 or 6 bodies in January, but it was never going to happen after the outlay. So it's about getting used to the players that we've got now. Like, that was one of the most comfortable performances I've seen in a while yesterday. And, like, I'm pretty sure I've seen some tweets saying that, like, that 11 was one of the worst that people could think of to put out. And just look at how good a performance it was. And then you get good minutes, obviously, for someone like Lawrence. It was a good run out for Silva, obviously managed to get his goal. Then we got to see a bit of Cortez as well. So it was a rotated side, but you wouldn't have known that it wasn't a first choice side or the kind of best 11 that Clement could put out with how easy the game was.
Scott, 22 minutes in, Leon Balogun gets a head knock, John Souttar comes in, and I think the whole back 5, and I'm including like Barisic and Tavernier, I think Tavernier was able to get a lot more further forward. I don't remember Tavernier really kind of having to go beyond the halfway line. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was kind of beyond the halfway line a lot of the afternoon. I just think in terms of the defence, we even Souttar coming back in, there was really nothing for them to do.
No, there wasn't. There wasn't. No, yesterday. It was a relatively quiet performance for Jack Butland as well. He must have been kind of looking for something today, to be honest. It looked quite a hard afternoon for a keeper. It's good to see John Souttar get more minutes in the legs as well. Keep a partnership with Connor Goldson kind of nice and fresh. Thought he had a good game away last week at St Mirren. So it's good to see that continuing as well. Defence, we've not really got a major issue with at the minute.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so either. I think as well, people know my opinions about Borna. I think if you're able to rotate Borna and Yilmaz for certain games, I think it's going to be important. I think yesterday, Kai, we saw like Barisic, he was able to just do what he was good at and no worry about what he's bad at. He was able just to ping crosses in, probably a lot more in the first half than we thought, because I thought for the first kind of 25, 30 minutes, there was a lot of kind of decent build-up play, but there just wasn't enough kind of penetration. But you were just happy to see. Like, I thought, particularly the 2 wingers, I thought McCausland was really good yesterday. I thought he was able to be a bit more tenacious and get forward, be able to kind of link up. I thought he linked up pretty well with Cantwell on several occasions. I thought Matondo was the same. But you were just kind of thinking that first half hour, the goal, it was just, when's it coming? And that again kind of leads up to somebody like Cantwell also. I did think it a good game, but the kind of first half hour, you were just thinking there's no really much in the way of kind of really threatening Livingston's defence.
No, we were obviously really comfortable because they weren't pushing forward at all with the ball in their half most of the time. It's hard to try and break down, isn't it? It doesn't matter kind of who you put in there, like with all the men behind the ball. It's solid for any team to break down. So that's why it's maybe good the start of the game to have Barisic there, because at least if you get the ball into the box, then you get a break or the ball falls the right way, the wrong way for them, then you can have a half chance. It's maybe not the game to have Ridvan kind of doing those kind of cutting runs inside. Like, everything's so congested in there, like, you don't need more players in there. I think you've seen that with Matondo quite a few times. He was obviously really keen to get inside, try and get a shot away. which obviously is where he got the goal eventually. But the first couple of times he did it, there's so many bodies in there that it's difficult to do. And it's the same with, I think, McCausland likes to cut in. I really love his link up play. Like, I know I think the criticism of him was quite harsh.
Yeah.
Like, just because he's not had a few goals and he's now got a couple of assists, but he's really positive on the ball, tries to get forward, he never hides, and like the one touch stuff's great. I think that's the advantage he's got kind of over Matondo. Like, Matondo's quicker. It's maybe defenders probably hate playing against Matondo more, but like that link up play, especially with like McCausland and Cantwell and Tavernier, like on that right side, like some of the stuff they played was really nice. Some nice one touch stuff, and it's something I've not seen a lot. So it's nice to kind of see that. Obviously, didn't amount to much in the first half, but we're not going to be playing against that every game. There's going to be some teams we play against that's a bit more open, and that stuff will just cut teams open. And it's, like I said, it's something we've not kind of seen a lot at the end of last season, the start of this season. So it's nice to see some actual decent looking football.
Yeah. And Scott, obviously the first goal comes, and I want to kind of single out Fabio Silva. I thought, again, we've kind of went round the mill already. That is he an out and out number 9? Is he more of a kind of new style, kind of false 9 type of player who's going to link up play? And I thought yesterday was a good mix of both. I thought at times his movement was very, very good. I thought at times I thought some of the stuff with him and Cantwell I thought was very, very good. The thing with Silva is that you can tell for the money he's went for, there's a really talented player there. And he's going to be a massive player for the next few months. But he's going to, obviously, I think he's going to be more for certain games. Like I think yesterday, perfect game for him to really kind of make a mark and takes his goal well. Obviously, he gets a bit of luck. But just some of the touches, just some of the kind of way linked up with certain players, a lot of people were saying, like, and I know you were one of them, obviously, Rangers need an out and out goal scorer. I think with Silva, we've got somebody who I wouldn't be surprised if Silva gets something like 7 or 8 goals, but they might not be like 4 goals here and then you might not see him for another. It'll be probably just fleeting goals here and there, but they could make all the difference. And I thought yesterday was a perfect game for Silva.
See, for somebody who's not played much football, coming into a Rangers team now, I think it was a shot he had in the second half where the ball kind of flicked up and he tried to kind of overhead kick it, or overhead side kick kind of thing, and it just flew past the post. That showed me boy's got confidence in his ability. He's going to be an absolute game changer. He can, like you say, it does kind of strike me as like in a false 9, complete forward type role. I think he has got a wee bit of everything, and seeing who looking at it, I think that's going to be Clement's style of striker. I think that's what Clement's looking for. Even if you watch Cyril Dessers when he starts, he's trying to get involved more from a kind of deeper role, which is probably why we've not seen an out and out number 9 come in, because Clement's winning goals for all over the park. And it helped yesterday. When he was interchanging with Campbell, looked relatively good. He built up to the third goal. Really, really impressed me when Campbell knocked the ball out McCausland, and McCausland almost first time put it back in the box for Campbell to finish. I mean, the football was just so much more effective. What I also noticed yesterday was the speed of ball boys were getting the balls back on the parker. It showed you that Clement's he's starting to stamp his own ideas in this team now. But in terms of Silva, I think he's going to be really, really important for now to end the season.
Hi, does Silva's performance yesterday kind of no eliminate, because I think we all thought Rangers need a number 9 and a real kind of poacher style number 9, but when you see the performance of Silva yesterday and the way that Clement put him in a game like that, where Dessers has been in really good form, obviously scoring goals, I think 4 in a row, but he threw Silva in and Silva gets his goal. Does that kind of eliminate the worry that, or to really challenge for the title, Rangers need an out and out Shankland type striker?
I think kind of the narrative around, because obviously Silva himself, I don't know if it's his first interview or whatever, came out and said, I'm not a natural number 9, but I feel like a lot of people are confusing that with I'm not a striker.
Mm-hmm.
Like, obviously what he means is he's not going to be a 9 that just sits in the penalty spot and tries to get goals. Because I think people are like spinning this into, he's saying he's not a striker, so he needs to be a number 10, he needs to be a left winger. He's just saying, like Scott said, he's more like a false 9, a complete forward, but he'll maybe get those 7, 8 goals, but he's probably going to get a couple of assists in there as well. Like he offers a lot. He holds the ball well. Like he's a lot quicker than I thought I was actually seeing him. Like sprinting and chasing down. Like he's quicker than I kind of thought he was. Like technically, he's probably a level above a lot of what we have. Like you can just see the touch, the way he brings the ball down. He's intelligent in the way he moves. You just obviously need. That's the thing that is what Clement's looking for. He's looking for the midfield to kind of get forward and get some goals. Like Silva's going to get the wingers involved as well, so we need them to chip in with goals. He's not going to be a 30 goal a season striker, but maybe, like Scott said as well, maybe that's what Clement wants. He maybe doesn't want the Lawrence Shanklin type. He wants a player like Fabio Silva that's going to be able to take the ball and hold up. Because we've got creative players, like there's players out wide, there's players like Lawrence and Cantwell that can provide goals, just we need them to actually do it. And obviously Cantwell's things at 4 and 6 recently. So he's getting into goal scoring form. Matondo got his goal yesterday. Hopefully kind of McCausland and now Cortez kind of chip in with that as well. So I think that has maybe more of a sign of what he's looking for. The fact that they've not went out and signed what would be a natural poacher like the Shanklin kind of Chris Boyd. It's maybe just not how the manager sees the striker position, what he wants from it.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. And I think obviously Scott with the second goal as well, just before half time. I thought the two goals really just calmed the nerves of the fans as well. I thought there was a massive relief at half time for a lot of supporters, and it just you did feel that. And I thought the second goal, obviously, Matondo, Kai rightly points out, cuts in onto his kind of right hand side, and I thought took his goal well. Obviously, gets a lot of luck, but Matondo coming in, I think Matondo's not going to be a player who you're not going to see Matondo start every single game between now and the end of the season, but he's going to get chances because there's no many, even with likes of Cortez coming in, there's no a lot of width, and he's going to get chances. And whether you get a bit of luck or not, to get that goal, I think he's a player who uses his pace very well, but when he gets chances, he's usually his final ball can really let him down. His decision making is not always the best, but yesterday that goal could just be a massive kind of motivation for him to take his chance again.
Aye, definitely. I thought what Clement was trying to do yesterday with Matondo, countless times I seen players doubling up on him and then pass the ball. Rangers would kind of switch it play and then eventually switch it back around to him when he was 1-on-1. A few times I seen Tavernier playing a long direct diagonal to him when he was 1-on-1 with Livingston's right back. So that to me is probably the best way to try and utilise, because he's got pace to burn. He can beat a player. Thought he took his goal relatively well yesterday. Obviously it's a deflection, but it's a goal. I was thinking back last night to the mazy run Matondo went on away to PSV. See the one he knocked the ball by a few players and knocked off the bar. I mean, there is potential here. There's bags here. I just hope that this is his chance now. He's going to come in and sort of nail this position down, because thought even crossed my mind yesterday, Scott, when I seen him score. I thought, could he maybe come in and kind of not fill the void left by Seaman, not in terms of his goals, but if he can create goals and be important in the build-up play, then we're not going to completely miss Seaman. I mean, when the injury come through, you're thinking that's a good 5-6 goals for the end of the season you're missing out on. But what I seen yesterday, Matondo could easily make it up.
Yeah, and I think it is just about how he's just. I think if his decision making is better, I think he could fill that Seamer boy. But I think that is the big thing. Kai, I thought it was interesting. Obviously, the second half with the extra sub, but he didn't make any changes straight for half time. He let it kind of go for 15 minutes, but obviously the third goal comes in. And I thought it was a really good bit of link up play. I think Jack's role in this goal has been very much underestimated. I thought Jack, McCausland, and Cantwell all deserve a lot of credit for this. And when I talk about winning the weekend, I don't just mean getting the points; it's gaining goal difference as well. And it impressed me that as soon as it was 2-0, you thought Livingston on the offering anything, 2-0, we'll take it and let's just go. But you could see for the get-go, there was a chance they wanted more goals. And looking at the goal difference has been completely ridiculous for the past 2 seasons, and it's probably been an extra 3 points in a lot of the title races. But this year, I mean, it's down to, I think it's 2, and they've obviously got the chance to make up on Tuesday before Celtic playing Wednesday. That third goal I really liked, but I just liked the overall getting out at 2-0 at half time and trying to go and get more goals. And that was probably what I thought that goal was perfect for that.
Something we've not really been used to seeing. Like you say, we'll go 2-0 up, or even if it's 3-0 up at home, we'll just kind of sit back. But that it didn't even happen when we got the third goal yesterday. Like I tweeted out yesterday that we made the triple sub. Like, when was the last time when we were that comfortable in a game? You've seen us make 3 attacking subs.
Mm-hmm.
Like I genuinely struggle to remember that. Like, bringing on, obviously Ridvan is probably better at that time in the game. Defenders are a bit more tired. They're not holding their shape as well. It's kind of more better suited to him, kind of driving inside. And we've seen, obviously, had, whether it was a cross or a shot, only he probably knows, but he gets that chance because he's got the space at that point, whereas he probably wouldn't have had that in the first half. Obviously, Lawrence comes on, playing that bit deeper, but it's still an attacking sub, and we got to see Cortez. Like, I genuinely can't remember being comfortable in a game and not sitting back after it. We obviously didn't get the fourth goal, but we were still going for it. There was still a few half chances here and there. Like, they still kept pushing, still kept going for it. And like you say, it's really great to see, because we've not seen it in previous seasons. And it probably would have been if kind of the point tally was closer in previous seasons. The goal difference would have pushed them that bit further ahead as well. Whereas we've obviously not scored as many, but I think we've conceded 4 goals less, I think,
Yeah.
at this point. And then if we manage to win by 3 on Tuesday night, it takes us top by a goal. So really encouraging signs that we're actually pushing for the extra goals instead of just being happy with a 2-0.
Yeah, and I think that's important, obviously, in the next few weeks as well. When Scott Away obviously bring in, we saw the introduction of Oscar Cortez. He came on from Matondo in that triple change. And I thought he's obviously been a player who's kind of struggled for games at Lawns, but you saw straight away he was direct. I thought some of his touches were very good. And you can just tell that he's a player who's going to have a lot of pace. And I think it's going to be interesting how Clermont uses him in the next few games, because you've got Ayr coming up. Aberdeen, he'll probably, I don't think he'll start. I'd like to see him start against Ayr, get a few, like a kind of 60 minutes under his belt. You might see Diamande as well. But he's the sort of player you can tell just looking at him that he's going to be, no matter what wing. Like Matondo, you can tell he's much better on the left. McCausland, I think he's obviously better on the right. I think Cortez can do both.
Aye, definitely. What I like about him is he's a completely different style of winger that we've got in the club. We've got McCausland, we've got Matondo, who are more kind of pace and ball carriers, whereas Cortez seems really, really good at shaping up to a defender when he's got a ball at his feet. When it comes to beating his man, a good bit of physicality about him. He's got a bit of speed. Seems to, for what we seen yesterday, it's quite promising going forward. Hopefully, he can have a big impact for now to the end of the season.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, obviously, with Cortez, that he wasn't feared to take defenders on. I think a lot of the defenders were struggling with the pace of Matondo first half, but I don't think Matondo was really doing well at taking a man on. I think it's always been a weakness in his game, but almost straight away you could tell after 5 minutes that Cortez, he wasn't feared to do that. And as Scott mentioned, he looks for the height of him, he looks very physical.
I like, when you consider even just the build to him in Matondo, like, I didn't realise until I think it was the pictures of him, like, he's quite built. He looks quite sturdy. So he's obviously going to be strong going against defenders. He was willing to go inside and outside, which I think sometimes with Matondo, like, the defenders know he's going to try and cut inside and get a shot away. So I think he had 3 attempts at that before he eventually got his goal. But Cortez seemed kind of equally comfortable going inside and outside. But he was obviously got away from his man, and he got that cross in for the kind of chance Silva had that Scott mentioned earlier, which, if that went in, probably would have been one of my favourite goals of the season. Like, Cortez obviously does well to beat his man, gets a decent ball across, a great touch to set himself up from Silva. He's back to goal. But I think it was another time as well, he cut in, he was kind of more central, and he tried to play a dink ball over to Cantwell. And it was just a wee bit too high. Cantwell tried to control it on his head and it just went out. But just even the vision there, to kind of see that pass is something we probably wouldn't see from, like, even Matondo at least. So encouraging signs. It would be good to see a wee bit more of him, because I think there was a lot of hype coming from South America when we were going to sign him. So I think there's a lot of people kind of that focus on football in that area that were disappointed with how it's went down at Lons. Like, still confuses me why they signed him. They don't play with wingers, and that's where he plays, and that's obviously limited his time. So hopefully we can see kind of more in the next couple of games and see what he's properly made of.
Yeah, and I think that is it as well. We're going to see more of him. We're going to see a bit more in terms of what the manager wants to do. Obviously, I think anybody on the planet would have looked at Rangers went in and said there's absolutely no words there, and he's been able to obviously bring in McCausland, he's got Cortez. I want to touch on Diamandi maybe in a minute, because I think there's something maybe interesting about how he might be used, Kai. I might touch up with you when we talk about the window, but Scott, overall, just a 3-0 victory, as comfortable as it gets. I thought the manager's post-match comments were very interesting, because obviously he was asked, did you care about the result beforehand? And he said no. He was very direct that I focus on my side. And I think you can tell that that's the case. Managers will say that, but I really do believe it with Clement. And I thought his comments as well, he said we're not at our maximum. I think he said something like, I want my players in their toes all the times and not thinking about other teams. And Rangers players and even fans and obviously managers, probably managers more than anybody, have felt a massive pressure whenever Celtic drop points. I don't think this manager does. And that, I think, is going to be the big difference. If Rangers are to make a go of this, they've got the manager there. I think that's one of the big reasons you're seeing the kind of upset across the city. The manager, I think, has just given a vision to the whole atmosphere around Ibrox. And I just think yesterday's a perfect example. It's a poor opposition, we know that. This Livingston side are not going to be in the Premiership next season, but that would have probably made it harder for Rangers maybe this time last year, whereas you've got a manager now who just doesn't have any qualms about how he's approaching games.
No, definitely not. In terms of Clement's presser, it goes back to the whole mentality thing again. Clement's very dignified in his approach to everything, and that's what we need as a Rangers manager. That's what we've all been used to kind of growing up, in terms of being a certain standard. And too often through the years, Rangers players have come out and gave daft quotes away that's fired Celtic up, and then we've went and got a hammer after them, or it's come back to bite us somewhere or the other. But business is getting kept in house. And the way we've done our business in transfer window shows that. Yesterday's performance was just, as I say, it was relentless. It was non-stop. Even the pace the ball was coming back into the park. I thought the set pieces was really interesting yesterday. Tavernier looked any time as if he was taking a corner, he was trying to score from it. Mm-hmm. He was sticking it right in on top of their keeper. So Clement's ideas are starting to come to fruition. And the way he handles himself in press conferences is starting to rub off on the players. So it's all pretty positive going forward. And the mentality is going to be massive now at the end of the season.
Okay, before we get into the window, just a final thing. I just want to touch on the stats. 77% possession, 32 shots, 14 corners. I mean, it was, as Scott said, it was relentless. But that to me is, again, a manager who just sees that this is growing for the first time in a long, long time. And I thought that's probably the first time I thought this was Livingston away, where Rangers haven't really done routine. It's always been either a slog to watch, or it's always been quite high kind of pressure, and the fans probably more than anybody. But yesterday was just so simple. Once that first goal went in, you thought there was never any doubt, and that's all down to a good manager.
No, fully agree. And I think one of the big things is, like, in the nicest way possible, he doesn't give teams like Livingston any respect. Like, I feel like we've been very guilty under Beelan, under Van Bronckhorst, overthinking it, instead of thinking, like, this is what we are going to do. We're going to do this in the game, do that in the game. They're going to have to deal with us. It was always, what are they going to do? We'll deal with what they're doing, and then we'll focus on us. Like, Clement's got kind of no respect for them in that way, and this is my game plan. This is what we are going to do. Whatever they do in game, we'll deal with it, but we're not going to worry about that right now. Like, you're going to get out there, do what I tell you, and we're going to win these games. And I think that's the biggest difference, because how many times over the last couple of years we looked at games and we're like, why are we letting them have so much of the ball? Like, we're just standing back and watching and giving teams so much respect, and we shouldn't. Because that felt like a proper Rangers performance. Like, we are going to do what we are going to do. You stop us. Like, we're not worried about what you're going to do, but you need to stop us. And obviously, Livy had no chance of doing that. No shots. And like I say, it's just that lack of respect, and not obviously an offensive way, but not giving them the chance to kind of go with their game plan. We just impart our game plan on them and make them deal with it.
Right, that leads us on to talking about the overall complexion of the side after the transfer window. we've seen obviously Fabio Silva come in, Diamandi's come in on a loan that's going to be made permanent. Cortez is in. We thought we'd maybe get more. We thought we were obviously going to get Hefty. That didn't work out. We were thinking maybe a striker, but Scott, overall, in terms of the window, the way business was done, the fact that not a lot of money's been spent, and you've been able to get 3 players who I think are probably going to go straight in as first teamers. I think overall, with the exception, I think we all wanted a striker. We all wanted that number 9. I think the window, in terms of a first window for the new management team, the first window for the new director of recruitment, probably went as well as you could have hoped on paper.
Aye, definitely. Seen with Fabio Silva, he's going to come in and make an improvement. The boy's just got ability, and he's going to come in and show it. I think the Scottish League's going to be a very good platform for him to get some confidence in. Oscar Cortez comes in, he's going to bring something a wee bit different, which we seen yesterday. To what we've already got, it's going to bring a bit of variety of a play. And Diamondi, it's hard to judge it, but I think he's going to sit in that kind of left side of the 2 in midfield and bring a bit of balance because he's left foot. That's what I'm assuming he's going to do. But he's definitely a positive window going forward. I just hope the not bringing a striker in as backup or even somebody run Cyril Desser's course is not going to come back to bite us, because if we were a suspension and injury away to Silva and Desser's to having a real problem in my hands, unless maybe Clement knows something that seems not as far off as documented, or maybe Daniel's getting a wee bit closer. Who knows?
Yeah, I think that's obviously something we'll kind of figure out kind of down the line. But Kai, I wanted to touch on you with Diamandi, because I was speaking to I was actually speaking to a New Zealand fan, and he said there was occasions where Diamandi would kind of move into a right side position and kind of play with, kind of be one of those players that would cut in. And I think we might see. I don't know about you. You're obviously somebody that's far better with stats and looking at kind of analytics and scouting more than me. But I think with Diamandi, I wouldn't be overly surprised if times where you could see him kind of playing that, the way Gerrard maybe used these wide players, that it would be kind of tuck in number 10s. I wouldn't be overly surprised if that's what Diamandi's going to do for a few months, just to until maybe the summer, where you're able to get a bit more in the wide areas. I think that would be something I would like if that's what they're going to do.
See, just before I talk about Diamandi, just like looking at the transfer window as a whole, like when, obviously with the Diamandi and Cortez transfer, when was the last time there was any kind of like hype from out with their own fan base about players? Like when was the last time with like journalists and people that cover kind of those areas coming in and like, oh, that's a great signing, or like other clubs worried about us signing those players or wishing that their clubs had went through it. It didn't happen in the summer. It definitely wasn't happening in the summer. And I can't remember the last time there was that. Diamandi's obviously hyped because of the whole like Right to Dream Academy straight to Norgerland, the kind of success Kudus has had. Anybody that's played Football Manager kind of knows how he pans out there. But I can't remember the last time we had that kind of hype around the transfers. And obviously the recruitment team done a complete 180 on what we were doing with transfers. So I think that's impressive. And it's like Diamandi's, he's played when he first came over, he kind of played left back. He's played kind of as deep as a 6 all the way through to an 8 and a 10. He's also played kind of on the left wing. Like you say, could be used as that way kind of Rebo works.
Yeah.
But I thought what might be quite an interesting dynamic is if he does play as a left-sided 8, him drifting out into that wide area would let the winger come inside. So you're creating space but still having a player fill it. Obviously, if you're playing with Ridvan, he makes that kind of diagonal run through the middle. You'd have your winger cut inside, and you still have the overlap with Diamandi because he's kind of got the capabilities to play it there. So I think it's going to be interesting where he's used, because last season for Northern they kind of played more as a 10 and they've dropped him back this season.
Yeah.
Like I said before that, he's played left wing, played left back. I don't see him going back to left back. I don't see that ever being a thing. But I think there's maybe more of a chance it would play him as that left-sided 8 and see him drift out into that area and kind of occupy that to let, if it's Matondo or Cortez, come inside and kind of cause more damage through the middle.
No, I think that's kind of something I kind of took away as well. Was he's somebody, obviously, when was the last time Rangers had a left-footed midfielder that was able to be a bit direct? I can't think off the top of my head that, but Scott, I think I touched on something interesting, that the overall shift in the recruitment strategy, and I think that's something you kind of touched on in a piece that's going to go out later this week. Rangers recruitment in the summer was either this guy, if we can get this guy in and we can get him fit, he's going to be a good player. Or I saw this guy 5 years ago in a youth game and he's lost his way, let's get him back in. Whereas now, as Kai says, there's a bit of something that's not been used, I don't think, a while. Scouting. You're scouting to see, yes, it might be a big outlay. Diamandi's a lot of money for what Rangers need. I get that. But surely, if you do a bit of scouting and you've got a bit of forward vision, you can see that if it's going to be, what, 4 million quid, that could be at least 2 times that come 2 years if you use this guy right. Use him in a decent position, keep him fit, use him the best way. Rangers recruitment has been so poor, and just an overall shift in the January window with the profile that Rangers have brought in is just so much different to me.
Aye, definitely. I think what I had said, I've voiced this many times before, is that my concern about shopping in these markets is the lack of experience they've got with the demands at their club and playing in the Scottish game, because we've seen it with Cifuentes, it's a complete culture change for these guys. But what I like about it is we've signed 2 players, say Cortez and Diamandi, are both coming in the summer. They've already got 3-4 months under their belt. We're seeing the fruits of Cyril Dessers. He's come into some good form now. He knows the Scottish game, knows how to score goals in the Scottish game. He's took his time to settle, but he seems to have settled. So getting these guys in now and bringing them into what's exciting times for Rangers is going to bode well going forward, especially because we seem to be doing more recruitment in short spells. I mean, we've signed 2 players that are going to come in permanently in the summer. So that's 2 that already know the club, whereas we could go and get another 2 or 3 in the summer with certain ones going out that's going to benefit Rangers even more going forward. So I think as long as we stick to that base of players that know how to kind of introduce these guys to the group and bring them in properly and show them how things are done, then I don't think shopping in these markets is going to be a bad thing. It's going to actually be really, really good for the player trading model. I think the biggest thing out of January for me was Jack Butlandstein. It was massive. It's absolutely massive. Gone all the times that we would have sold him and just put Robin McCrory in goal at the end of the season. So that's probably the biggest statement of intent for me, is rejecting that offer for Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, there was chat of Dessers leaving as well. It never really came to fruition. But clearly, in terms of incomings, I think probably with the Jefty top more than anyone, there's clearly a profile of a player Clement wants. I done a bit of digging a couple of days ago, and he's clearly got a notion of kind of looking towards that African, kind of South American market. But what interests me is he'll get them after they've done a bit of time in Europe. He won't go straight and get them from South America. He won't, do you know what I mean? Hefty had a bit of time at Apoel before he was obviously going to come to Rangers. I think that'll be something they'll explore again in the summer. But he's clearly looked at Diamandi maybe 2 seasons ago and said, or Coppin as well, and thought, right, let's get him, let's see what he's like after he's done a bit of a apprenticeship in a decent league, at the Danish league, and then we'll go and get him. That's just brilliant forward thinking to me. That's a bit of due diligence of, right, this guy clearly has made that leap. He can go and make another one, and we're the place to do it. And I really like, and I've looked at this as well, Clement has clearly got a vision of what he wants to do with players, and it opens you up to so many different markets that Rangers have not used in years.
No, I agree, mate. It's an interesting one because I don't think we expected the kind of shift so quickly. Like over one window to completely go from, it was kind of like you say, players that hadn't found their way or players that had lost their way that kind of Beale was looking at, to just completely go, right, well, obviously come on and mention the player trading model and it was pretty much non-existent, and now we're looking at bringing in a couple of guys. If we get Hefty in as well, it's 2 20-year-olds and a 22-year-old that have kind of come in through the door.
Yeah.
For Diamandi's a Hefty outlay at 4 million, but like in the summer it was rumoured that Leipzig and Union Berlin were looking at him. And if you look at how good their recruitment is, like Union Berlin have been really smart with their recruitment recently. Like a deal they made, I was really impressed with. They sold obviously Becker to Sociedad for like 10 million, and they went and bought the boy Bedia that played for Servette that's had a really good season for 1 million. Like they do their business really well. They obviously swooped in to get Doki when we thought we were going to get him. Like they've done really good
Still
business
haunts
in
me, man.
Leipzig,
Still haunts me. Still.
especially some of the money they've talked about him going for, like that 20, 25 million for his next move. But they do their business really well. And if clubs like that are looking at Diamande, it's good that we've kind of just been like, nah, he's going to be our player. They'd obviously identified him previously to coming into Rangers, and it's really encouraging that they've just put their foot down and thought this is the guy when no one thought of selling him was our priority. Like, are we going to see if we end up selling him for 10, 15 million or whatever a few years down the line? Are we going to look back and go, didn't think I said that we should have got a centre mid that window? Like, it's obviously his vision, and he's decided that this is the guy. This is the guy that the outlay's going on this window. This guy's going to work for us. He's exactly what I want. And I think that's kind of where you need to. So we've got no reason not to trust Clement at this point with what he's done so far. So I think it's encouraging that, like you say, the forward thinking, seeing the vision there, and getting in there before other teams do.
Right, we've got a game on Tuesday night. The games are coming thick and fast. I think February could be a massive month for Rangers, and I think this is probably the biggest game of the whole month, and it's obviously Rangers hosting Aberdeen. I don't think it's going to be an Aberdeen side with Neil Warnock in the dugout, as fascinating as that would be, but it's a massive game. Obviously, we know Rangers Aberdeen, 2 games this season in the league haven't been in Rangers' favour. And Scott, we talk about a shift in mentality. This is a perfect opportunity to break that Aberdeen duck in the league. Chance to go top if things go their way. How do we see it in terms of team rotation? Do we see a lot of rotation, or does he maybe stick with what he put out on Saturday? I think it's an interesting look at how he's going to approach this.
I think you're. I'm going to. I think you're maybe going to see a wee bit of a wild card with maybe Silva moving out left and Dessers going through middle. I can see him potentially going with two somehow, getting them 2 players in the park. I would prefer him just to just to put Silva in again.
Mm-hmm.
I think Silva offers you more as a forward player, and I think that'll get Aberdeen guessing as to what our actual game plan is if we've got a better player on the park, because Silva clearly is a better player. So will be interesting to see how he lines up. You don't know what Philippe Clement's going to do next, and everything he's doing is working out. Potentially on the right wing, I think McCausland will keep his jersey. I think you'll maybe see Lundstrom with Raskin coming back into the fold. Probably the same back four. If Balogun's not fit, you'll see Suter coming in, maybe Redvan coming back in again, because we need to go and attack. We need to go and attack them. Although Aberdeen are good on the counter, as we've seen in Saturday there, we need to go, we're at home, we need to go and be on the ascendant, saying just pretty much the same again. But it'll be interesting to see what Clement does with personnel.
Guy, how do you see it? I personally think that we might see Redvan coming back in. I would be surprised if Suter kept his place in the side. I think Raskin has been rested for this. I don't think up front he'll change too much, though. I think it could be. I think Scott says it could be very interesting, because I do think this is a game. We know what Aberdeen are going to do. We know what they thrive on. They'll try and get Miovski. They'll try and get Miovski to break the 2 centre halves. I think this is very interesting.
I think what probably makes it more interesting is their performance at the weekend. Like, if the Aberdeen that turn up in the first half turn up on Tuesday night, then it's a completely different game with the side that came out in the second half.
Yeah.
Like, if we play against that side in the second half, I actually probably fancy our chances more if they come out and be that wee bit more open. Like I said earlier, like the kind of one-touch stuff we're playing now to open up spaces and players overlapping and interchanging. I think if Aberdeen come and have a go for it, I think we'll be able to pick them apart. I think Silva on the left's something that's really interesting. We obviously see people, again, talking about that comment where he says he's not like a natural number 9. Like, people kind of want to see him that bit deeper. He played out in the left for PSV quite a lot last season, obviously when Copeland was there.
Mm.
So I think he's, like I said, I didn't expect him to be as fast as he was. Like, I've not seen a lot of McRose because he's obviously not played that much. But he's got a lot more pace than I thought he was, and I'd actually be quite interested to see what he brings out in the left hand side.
Right, guys, let's get a prediction. I'm going to be confident and say it's going to be 3-0 and Rangers will be top of the league for at least 24 hours. I think Celtic will lever Hibs. I just think they will. So I think it's important to set a marker on Tuesday night. Scott, give us a wee score prediction.
If Neil Warnock's not in the dugout, it's 4-0 Rangers. If Neil Warnock's in the dugout, that's going to be box office, by the way. It's going to be brilliant. It's going to be 2-1 Rangers.
It's all about Neil. I do think he'll be in the ground. I don't think he'll be in the dugout. I think it's going to be. I think it will be brilliant. Anyway. I think it'll be good as well. Kai gives a prediction: Rangers Aberdeen on Tuesday night.
Yeah, 3 would have been mine as well, mate. I'd say 3-0 Rangers, pretty comfortable one. But again, I think Warnock is going to be pure box office. I said earlier on that I think he's the only manager that I'm all for hearing mic'd up during the game. Like I am all for them miking up Neil Warnock for every single game he's here and listening to what that man has to say. 100% all for it.
Apparently we can't do it though. The SFA don't let us, but I think it would be. I think it'd be more value for money than Fury Usyk. Honestly, I would pay 25 quid for that. Honestly, brilliant. I think it'd be entertaining. Guy, before we finish up, you've obviously, if anybody hasn't followed the Rangers Journal on Twitter or Facebook or wherever, follow it because it is one of the most informative Rangers pages out there. But you're launching a YouTube channel.
Thanks so much, mate, for the compliment. But I, like Scott says, if you want to see mostly random player profiles, because we didn't go for anybody that I suggested in the summer, unfortunately. Niles Coppin's clearly not following me on Twitter, but we'll see how that goes. But I know, like, when we're linked to anyone, I'll kind of do profiles of those players, I'll get articles up in the blog. But I have just started on YouTube last week. So at this point, it's just going to be kind of a weekly roundup of everything that's happened in the world of Rangers. First one went up on Friday there, just kind of looked at the transfer window. It's done relatively well. Like I said, it's the first time I've ever kind of done anything solo on the camera. So it's a lot more challenging than probably like being tonight speaking with you two guys. It's a bit of a completely different experience. So the first one's up, and then I'm going to be doing another video this week. I've got a pretty exciting guest coming on, so excited for that. And if you're interested in that, it's just same as it is on Twitter and Facebook. It's just at the Rangers Journal on YouTube.
No, it is. It's one of the best pages in Rangers related in terms of, I know we were we were messaging each other probably every day during the January window. Like if we'd heard anything, we were messaging each other and we were getting links about players, and I thought it was really good. And I would say, yeah, absolutely follow Kai's channel on Twitter and YouTube as well. Obviously, one of the best pages. I think one of the best pages of football for me. And honestly, I'm not just saying that to big you up. I really do believe that. Scotty, you've obviously got a piece coming out on the channel on Tuesday, but you'll be looking at kind of an official kind of post-mortem of the window. So that's another thing as well. Give that a wee plug.
100%, 100%. I'm starting to get back into my writing, my podcasting again. So I'm enjoying getting back into it. There's been a couple that's been put on the Gallon View Patreon as well. So I am looking forward to see what feedback I get on my piece for you on Tuesday, Scott.
Yeah, you always do well, mate. It's been a pleasure to have the both of you on and talk about all things Rangers. First of all, to Kai, best of luck, mate, and thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks for having me on, mate. I'll make sure it's not as long the next time and not as difficult to kind of get something sorted. But no, it'll be a great thing.
It's a pleasure, mate. Thank you. And to Scott McKay, thanks very much as always, mate.
Oh, thanks, Scott. Cheers.
Brilliant. Thank you very much to everyone who's tuned in, folks. If you want more Scottish football content, then subscribe to our Patreon channel. And I'll be back on Tuesday night. I'll do the return of the post-match videos. They'll drop after the Aberdeen game, and obviously player ratings will drop and things like that, and pieces will be dropping through the week. So stay tuned for that. Thank you very much, folks, and we'll see you next week.